Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night, replaying conversations, wondering why he doesn't see your worth? Why he keeps giving you mixed signals, pulling you close just enough to keep you hanging, but never close enough to feel secure? You keep showing up, over-explaining your value, making yourself endlessly available, accepting breadcrumbs, putting his needs above your own, giving more than you're getting, putting blame on and worst of all, ignoring every red flag that screams you deserve better. And here's the painful truth. The more you do this, the less he values you. The more you chase, the more he pulls away. The more you tolerate, the more he tests your limits. But something incredible happens the moment you stop. Stop explaining, stop overgiving, stop being his emotional safety net. The second you reclaim your time, your energy, and your standards, watch how fast his behavior changes. Watch how quickly he starts noticing you, respecting you, even chasing you. This isn't about playing games. It's about resetting the dynamic in your favor. If you're tired of feeling undervalued, tired of feeling like you're not enough, stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to stop doing and how to finally make him see your true worth. You know, one of the biggest mistakes we make when we feel someone slipping away or when we sense that we're being undervalued is that we start going into overdrive trying to explain our worth to them. It's almost like this internal panic button goes off. We start thinking, if I can just make them see everything I bring to the table, if I can list all the things I've done for them, if I can explain how much I care and how much I've sacrificed, then surely they'll realize they've been taking me for granted. And so we get into this mode of over-explaining. We send long texts trying to articulate our feelings. We recount the moments we were there for them. We remind them of the late-night phone calls, the favors, the emotional support, the compromises we've made. We point out how patient we've been, how understanding, how much we've tolerated. We basically hand them a resume of our loyalty and kindness, thinking that somehow it'll snap them out of their emotional laziness. But here's the hard truth. When someone doesn't value you, your words won't fix that. When someone doesn't value you, your words won't fix that. They will feel the need to care, to kind, to consider, to comfort, to care, to cump, to cutlet, damp. You can't talk someone into respecting you. You can't debate your way into being cherished. The more you try to explain your worth, the more they start to feel like they're in control of the situation. And worse, they start to see you as desperate for validation. There's something very subtle but very powerful that happens when you over-explain. You shift from being someone who's desirable to being someone who's pleading for recognition. And that shift kills attraction, it kills mystery, it kills respect. People don't value what's constantly trying to convince them it's valuable. Think about anything in life that feels truly high value, whether it's a job opportunity, a limited edition product, or even a person whose time is in demand. None of these things beg for attention. They command it by showing, not telling, their worth. When you're truly valuable, you don't need to explain why. Your actions, your boundaries, your standards, they speak for you. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the way you protect your time. It's the way you refuse to participate in dynamics that feel one-sided or draining. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop over-explaining, the moment you stop justifying your presence in someone's life, is often the moment they start paying attention. They notice the sudden silence. the lack of proof they're used to getting from you. They realize they're no longer being reassured of their importance in your life every 5 minutes. This space, this absence of over-explanation, it creates curiosity. It creates a gap. It makes them wonder, wait, what's changed? Why aren't they chasing anymore? Why aren't they explaining why I should care? And that's where the power begins to shift. Now, that doesn't mean you should play games or give the silent treatment for the sake of manipulation. This isn't about punishing someone with coldness. It's about choosing to step back from situations where your worth isn't being recognized naturally. It's about saying to yourself, if you can't see what I bring to your life without me having to spell it out, then maybe I'm giving my energy to the wrong person. Silence in moments like this isn't passive. It's incredibly active. It's you reclaiming your power. It's you making a decision that you will no longer spend your energy trying to teach someone how to value you. The people who truly deserve a place in your life, they'll notice your absence. They'll feel the loss of your energy. And if they care enough, they'll step up. They'll start putting in the effort you've been begging for. And if they don't, well, their silence tells you everything you need to know. Sometimes the strongest statement you can make is no statement at all. One of the most subtle yet powerful behaviors that erode someone's value in a relationship is being constantly available at their convenience. It doesn't seem like a big deal at first. In fact, it feels kind, generous, even loving. You think, if I show up for him whenever he needs me, he'll see how much I care. But the truth is, human psychology doesn't work that way. We don't value what feels too easy, too predictable, or too always there. Think about it. When someone knows that no matter when they call, no matter how last minute the invitation, no matter how inconsiderate the timing, you'll say yes, they stop seeing your time as something precious. They stop seeing you as someone who has their own life, their own priorities, their own standards. Over time, what started as you being flexible becomes you being taken for granted. And I get it. It's not coming from a place of weakness. It's coming from a place of hope. You're thinking, if I'm always there, if I'm always the person who picks up the phone, says yes to plans, and responds to every text instantly, he'll notice. He'll appreciate me more. He'll realize how lucky he is. But here's the uncomfortable reality. People rarely appreciate what they're certain they'll never lose. Certainty breeds complacency. When you're always available, you create an emotional safety net for him, but not for yourself. You're the fallback plan, the safety option, the person he reaches out to when he's bored, lonely, or when his plans with someone else fall through. And you don't want to be anyone's plan B. You want to be a priority. You want to be chosen because he genuinely values your time, not because you're simply the easiest option. The thing that makes this even trickier is how addictive that little dopamine hit feels when he finally calls or texts. Even if it's been days, even if he's been distant, the moment your phone lights up with his name, your heart jumps. You convince yourself that this is progress, that it means something. So when he says, hey, what are you doing right now? Want to come over? You drop everything. You cancel plans. You rearrange your schedule. You think, this is my chance. But every time you do that, you teach him a lesson. And the lesson is, she'll always say yes. Now imagine how different it feels when a person doesn't get that guaranteed yes from you. Imagine how it shakes up their world when they text you late at night and you don't reply until the next morning. Or when they throw out a casual invite and you politely say, sorry, I've already got plans. or when you take your time to respond because you're actually living your life, working out, going out with friends, focusing on your career, or simply enjoying your peace at home. That's when they start wondering. That's when they feel a gap. They start thinking, wait, what's she doing? Who's she with? Why isn't she jumping to reply like she used to? That curiosity triggers something powerful, desire. And with desire comes effort. Suddenly, they're texting earlier in the day, trying to lock in time with you before your schedule fills up. They're making proper plans, not just throwing you scraps of attention when it's convenient for them. It's not about playing games. It's about reclaiming your value. It's about sending a non-verbal message. My time is important. My energy is valuable. You don't get access to me on demand just because you remembered I exist. And the amazing thing is, when you start doing this, the right kind of person won't disappear. They'll step up. They'll match your effort. They'll respect your time because they'll see that it's not something they can take for granted. But here's the key. You have to mean it. This isn't about temporarily pulling away just to get a reaction. This is about making a lifestyle shift where you no longer tolerate being an afterthought. It's about filling your life with so much purpose, joy, and self-respect that if someone wants a spot in it, they have to earn it. When you stop being available at someone's convenience, you change the entire dynamic. You move from being reactive to being selective. And in that space, that little gap where you're no longer immediately accessible, something powerful happens. They start valuing you more. We've all been there, haven't we? Holding on to the tiniest signs of affection, the most random texts, the smallest gestures, and treating them like gold dust. You get that sporadic, hey, how have you been at midnight? Or that lazy last-minute invitation when every other plan he had probably fell through and your heart leaps. Because in that moment, it feels like maybe, just maybe, he's thinking about you. It feels like the nurse may have just thinking about you, that he's choosing you, that you still matter to him. But deep down, if you're being brutally honest with yourself, you know it's not enough. You know you deserve more than breadcrumbs. And that's exactly what they are. Breadcrumbs. Little scraps of attention that keep you just close enough to stop you from moving on, but never close enough to actually feel secure, wanted, or truly loved. It's this emotionally confusing limbo where you're neither fully in nor fully out. And the sad part is you start feeding off those scraps, like you're starving for affection. You tell yourself, well, at least he's still texting, or maybe he's just going through something right now, or it's better than nothing, right? But is it? The truth is, when someone really values you, you don't have to decode their messages like there's some secret language, or there's this sense of like something sufficing, some sort of, you don't have to sit with your phone in your hand staring at a text that says you up and wonder if that's a sign of progress. When someone truly cares, their actions make you feel chosen, not confused. They reach out because they want to know how your day was, not because they're bored or lonely at 11 p.m. They make plans in advance because they genuinely want to spend time with you, not because all their other plans fell apart. They give you consistency, not hot and cold behavior that keeps you second-guessing everything. But the harsh reality is this: as long as you keep accepting the bare minimum, that's all you're going to get. Every time you reply to that lazy text, every time you say yes to the last-minute hangout, every time you keep entertaining someone who's giving you the least effort possible, you're reinforcing the idea that this is all it takes to keep you around. You're teaching them that you'll stay even when they're only giving you half measures. And people are always going to rise or fall to the standards you set. I get it. Pulling back feels scary. You fear that if you stop replying, if you stop showing up when they ask, if you stop being available for the smallest crumbs, they'll disappear altogether. And you know what? Some of them will. But here's the uncomfortable truth. If someone disappears because you stopped accepting breadcrumbs, they were never planning on giving you the whole loaf anyway. Their absence isn't a loss, it's clarity. What you're really afraid of isn't losing them, it's losing the hope you've been holding on to. The hope that if you hang in there long enough, they'll suddenly wake up one day and realize how amazing you are. But that's not how it works. People rarely wake up to your value when you're still standing there, willingly accepting less than you deserve. They wake up when your absence creates a space they can actually feel. They notice when you're no longer there to answer the late-night texts, when you stop showing up for them without question, when you stop showing up for them without question, when you stop making them a priority while they're making you an... And it's not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about making an authentic choice to raise your standards. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Because here's what happens when you stop accepting breadcrumbs. You reclaim your time. You regain your energy. You start focusing on people and experiences that fill you up rather than drain you. You make space for the kind of connection that's real, where you don't have to second guess your worth. And if the person you were chasing notices that shift and decides to step up, great. But by then, you'll be coming from a place of strength, not desperation. You won't be hoping for scraps. You'll be deciding if what they're offering is finally enough for you. That's the power you unlock when you stop settling. So, the next time that half-hearted text comes through, pause, breathe, ask yourself, does this feel like effort? Does this feel like I'm being valued? And if the answer is no, give yourself permission to do something revolutionary. Nothing at all. ChatGPT said, we've all been there at some point, where our mood starts to depend on how often they text, how quickly they respond, or whether they seem as excited to see us as we are to see them. It's subtle at first. You don't notice it happening. One day, you're living your life, going about your day with your usual routines, your friends, your passions, and then suddenly, without even realizing it, you start checking your phone more often. You start turning down plans just in case they call. You start making little adjustments, just tiny sacrifices of your time, your energy, your happiness, all because you're waiting on someone else to make you feel wanted. And here's the most dangerous part. It feels like you're being loving. It feels like you're being committed, loyal, invested. But what's really happening is you're slowly disappearing in the process. You're giving up pieces of yourself, bit by bit, all in the name of being available for someone who hasn't even earned that place in your life yet. There's this belief we hold deep down, especially when we really like someone, that if we just show them how much we care, if we're always there when they need us, they'll eventually value us more. But the reality is, people don't value what's constantly there, no matter what. They value what feels rare, what feels intentional, what feels like a choice, not an obligation. When you make someone the center of your emotional world before they've earned it, you actually start teaching them that their behavior doesn't need to change. They start thinking she's always going to be there. No matter how I treat her, she's going to pick up the phone. She'll cancel her plans if I text her late at night. She'll forgive me every time I disappear for a week and come back like nothing happened. And so You start to adopt this ignored help. And over time, what happens? You resent them. You start getting angry at them for the very behavior you allowed. But here's the thing. It's not just about them. It's about what you've been tolerating. It's about how much you've prioritized them at the expense of yourself. There's something incredibly attractive about someone who has their own life, someone who has their own friends, their own plans, their own goals. Think about the people you've been drawn to in your life. It's rarely the person who's sitting by the phone waiting for you. It's the person who's out there, living. They're in motion. They're busy. They're fulfilled. And when they make time for you, it feels meaningful. It feels earned. If you want someone to value you, you have to start by valuing yourself. That means making plans and keeping them. It means going to that yoga class, meeting your friends for dinner, taking that weekend trip, saying yes to opportunities that make you happy. It means not shrinking your life just because you're hoping for a text that might come at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. You become magnetic when you stop making them the focal point and start becoming the focal point of your own life. When you walk into a room and you're energized, when you're engaged with the world, when your happiness is not contingent on whether or not they're paying attention to you, that's when the shift happens. That's when they start looking at you differently. That's when they start wondering, what's she up to? Why doesn't she seem as available as she used to be? Who's making her smile like that now? And this isn't about playing games. It's about breaking a pattern that was never serving you in the first place. You deserve to be with someone who respects your time, your energy, your heart. Someone who feels lucky to be part of your world, not someone who expects you to wait around on standby. So the next time you feel that pull, that urge to cancel your plans, to send that extra text, to wait by your phone, instead of living your life, pause for a second, take a breath, and remind yourself, your life is happening right now. Not in the waiting, not in the hoping, not in the chasing, but in the moments you choose for yourself. The fastest way to make someone value you is to start valuing yourself more than you've ever done before. We've all been there. Giving and giving, hoping that one day the person in front of us will wake up and realize just how lucky they are to have us. We pour our energy, our time, our affection into them like it's this bottomless well. We convince ourselves that if we just love harder, if we're more understanding, more patient, more available, maybe then they'll meet us halfway. Maybe then they'll give us the love and attention we crave. But here's the truth that's hard to swallow. Love doesn't work that way. You can't overinvest in someone and expect them to suddenly value you more. In fact, the more you give without getting, the more you teach them that giving you less is acceptable. Every time you respond to their lazy texts with enthusiasm, every time you show up for them without them showing up for you, every time you show up for them without them showing up for you, you're reinforcing the idea that their minimal effort is enough. And I get it. It's terrifying to stop, because stopping feels like giving up. It feels like surrendering. It feels like admitting defeat. But what if I told you that stopping, pulling back, is the most powerful move you can make? When you stop giving without getting, you shift the dynamic. You create space for reflection, and not just for them, for you too. Because right now, you're operating from a place of fear. Fear that if you don't keep giving, you'll lose them. Fear that if you don't keep showing up, they'll forget about you. But if the only thing keeping someone in your life is your constant effort, Do you really have them? Imagine if you decided right now to match their energy, not out of spite, not out of game playing, but out of self-respect. Imagine if the next time they send a half-hearted text, you don't rush to reply. Imagine if the next time they flake on plans, you don't rearrange your life for their next available window. Imagine if you allowed yourself to sit with the discomfort of not chasing, and instead let them experience what it feels like when your presence isn't guaranteed. Because here's what happens when you stop giving without getting. They notice the shift. They start to feel the absence of your energy. The comfort of knowing you'll always be there starts to fade. And if they care, even just a little, they'll start to step up. People value what they have to work for. Effort breeds appreciation. When things come too easily, they become invisible. They get taken for granted. But here's the other side of this. Sometimes when you pull back, the person won't step up. Sometimes they'll fade out completely. And while that might feel devastating in the moment, it's actually a gift. Because if someone disappears when you stop over-giving, what they were really attached to was the benefits of your effort, not you as a person. Let that sink in for a second. If your energy was the glue holding things together, and the moment you stop, they let go, they were never invested in you in the first place. You deserve someone who meets you where you are, someone who reciprocates, someone who makes you feel chosen, not just convenient. And that starts with you showing yourself that you're worth that kind of love. That starts with setting the standard. The moment you decide that you will no longer give your heart, your time, or your energy to someone who isn't giving it back, everything starts to change. It's not about playing games. It's not about manipulating outcomes. It's about alignment. It's about saying, this is how I love. This is how I show up for people. And if you're not capable of doing the same for me, I'll stop pouring myself into something that's leaving me empty. So if you're stuck right now in a cycle of giving and wondering why it's not working, stop, pause, pull back, give in proportion to what you're receiving. Let them show you what they're willing to do when your constant effort isn't there to prop the relationship up. That space you create might just be the wake-up call they need, or it might be the clarity you need to walk away. Either way, you win. You know what's interesting? Most of the time, when someone isn't valuing us the way we deserve, we already know it. Deep down, we can feel it. It's that uneasy sensation in your gut when they cancel plans last minute again. It's that hollow feeling when they take hours or even days to reply. And when they do, the message feels cold and detached. It's the way your energy drops after every interaction because you're left wondering where you stand. And yet, despite all those warning signs, we stay. We convince ourselves that maybe we're overthinking. Maybe we're being too sensitive. Maybe they're just busy, going through something, stressed at work. We turn into expert storytellers, writing entire narratives in our minds to explain away why their behavior isn't as bad as it feels. But here's the brutal truth. Every time you ignore those red flags, every time you minimize that discomfort, you're sending them a silent message that this is okay, that you'll tolerate it, that they don't need to change because you're still here, accepting crumbs and hoping they'll turn into a feast. You might say, but I don't want to walk away too soon. What if I'm being unfair? And that's understandable. No one wants to be quick to judge. But there's a difference between giving someone grace and giving them endless passes. Grace has boundaries. It says, I understand that life happens, but I still expect to be treated with respect and consistency. So you can be someone who gets called out for misbehavior, but they still give treated with respect and consistency. Endless parties, they come at the cost of your self-esteem. They drain your energy. They make you question your own worth. You have to remember, the way someone treats you is information. Every late reply, every broken promise, every vague answer when you ask where this is going, that's data. And when you gather enough data, you start to see the pattern. Patterns don't lie. They reveal where you stand in someone's life. If you keep ignoring that information, you're not just fooling yourself, you're also teaching them how to treat you. Now, I know what happens next. We hope that if we just hang in there a little longer, they'll change. That one day they'll wake up and finally realize what they have in front of them. But people don't usually change when their behavior is rewarded with continued access to you. Why would they? Why would they? From their point of view, everything they're doing is working just fine. They get your attention, your affection, your emotional support, without having to show up fully, without committing, without investing. If you want to flip that dynamic, it starts with being honest with yourself. Sit with that uncomfortable feeling and ask, am I ignoring red flags because I'm afraid of losing this person? Am I tolerating things that I would tell my best friend to walk away from? The irony is, the thing you're afraid of doing, pulling back, setting boundaries, even walking away, is often the very thing that wakes someone up to your value. But let me also say this. Setting boundaries isn't about manipulation. It's not about pulling away just to trigger a reaction. It's about making a decision for your own peace of mind that you will no longer participate in situations where you are undervalued. That shift has to come from within you. It's about choosing to protect your energy, your heart, your time. When you stop ignoring red flags, you immediately start showing up as someone who won't settle. You reclaim your power. And whether this person rises to meet your standards or not, you win either way. Because you either end up with someone who truly values you, or you create space for the right person to enter your life. Someone who won't need to be convinced. Someone who will meet you where you are. Someone who will make you feel chosen without you having to fight for it. The hardest thing isn't noticing the red flags. It's having the courage to act on what you see. But the day you do, everything changes.